Welcome to the Network Plus Prepcast, your dedicated audio companion for mastering every objective on the CompTIA Network Plus certification exam. This series is produced by baremetalcyber.com. Remote access protocols are foundational to modern network administration. They allow administrators to securely connect to systems across local and wide area networks without being physically present at the device. Whether the task involves managing servers, updating router configurations, troubleshooting client systems, or running automation scripts, remote access enables fast, flexible control. These protocols provide command line or graphical access to critical systems and are used every day in enterprises, data centers, and cloud environments. Without reliable remote access tools, daily operations would slow down, response times would increase, and support personnel would face constant delays and travel burdens. On the Network Plus exam, remote access protocols are a frequent subject across multiple domains. You are expected to recognize these tools by their protocol name, default port number, security characteristics, and use case. Questions often describe a scenario, such as a failed login, a blocked port, or an insecure connection, and ask you to determine which protocol is being used or which one should be used instead. You may also be asked to differentiate between command line access protocols and graphical desktop protocols, or to recommend a more secure alternative to an outdated method. Mastery of these tools is essential for passing the exam and for performing real-world administrative tasks effectively. Telnet is one of the oldest remote access protocols still in use. It provides a command line interface that allows administrators to connect to devices and issue text-based commands remotely. Telnet operates on Transmission Control Protocol port 23 and is relatively simple to implement. It was widely used in the early days of networking for accessing routers, switches, and Unix-based servers. However, Telnet sends all data, including usernames, passwords, and session commands, in plain text. This lack of encryption makes it extremely vulnerable to packet sniffing, man-in-the-middle attacks, and session hijacking. Because Telnet provides no encryption, it is unsuitable for any environment where security is a concern. Using Telnet over public networks or untrusted internal segments exposes credentials and sensitive configurations to interception. Even in internal networks, using Telnet without safeguards opens the door to compromise if the network is breached. Most modern systems and devices have replaced Telnet with more secure options and often disable the Telnet service by default. On the Network Plus exam, Telnet is often referenced in historical or insecure configurations, where your task is to recommend a more secure replacement. The most common and secure alternative to Telnet is Secure Shell, or SSH. This protocol also provides command line access but does so over an encrypted channel. SSH operates on Transmission Control Protocol port 22 and has become the de facto standard for remote access on Linux, Unix, and many network devices. It encrypts all communication between the client and server, including authentication credentials, input commands, and output response. This ensures confidentiality and integrity even when used over the public internet or untrusted networks. SSH offers more than just secure terminal sessions. It can be used to tunnel other protocols, create secure file transfer channels, and forward ports for encrypted communication with other services. File transfers can be performed using SFTP or SCP, both of which run over the Secure Shell protocol. This multifunction capability makes SSH a flexible and powerful tool for system administrators. It supports key-based authentication, which allows for passwordless access using cryptographic keys. This is especially useful in automated scripts or scheduled jobs that require secure access to remote systems without manual input. The Remote Desktop Protocol, or RDP, is used to provide graphical access to remote computers. It operates on Transmission Control Protocol port 3389 and is most commonly associated with Windows-based systems. Unlike command line tools like Telnet and SSH, RDP allows users to view and interact with a full desktop environment. This makes it ideal for situations where visual feedback is needed or where tasks require a graphical interface. RDP supports the use of a mouse, keyboard, Windows, and graphical applications, making it suitable for remote help desk work, software configuration, and Windows Server management. RDP includes several advanced features that enhance user experience and functionality. These include support for audio redirection, where sound from the remote machine can be played on the local device, and device redirection, which allows local printers and drives to be accessed within the remote session. Clipboard sharing and display scaling are also supported, allowing users to copy and paste data between environments or work on high-resolution displays. However, because of its comprehensive functionality, RDP has a larger attack surface than simpler protocols and must be configured securely. Securing RDP involves several best practices. First, access should be restricted to known IP ranges or protected behind a virtual private network. This prevents open exposure to the public internet, where RDP ports are frequently scanned by attackers looking for vulnerable systems. Second, strong password policies and account lockout thresholds should be enforced to prevent brute force attacks. Third, enabling two-factor authentication adds an extra layer of protection. Finally, RDP logging should be enabled to record access attempts and session activity, supporting auditing and forensic analysis in case of security incidents. Another remote access protocol worth understanding is virtual network computing, or VNC. Like RDP, VNC provides graphical access to remote systems, but does so using a different architecture. VNC operates on transmission control protocol, ports in the 5900 range, and is platform agnostic. It is commonly used on Linux and Unix systems and has implementations for Windows and Mac OS as well. VNC works by transmitting the screen image from the remote device to the local viewer and forwarding keyboard and mouse input in the opposite direction. VNC is often considered less efficient than RDP, especially over slow or high latency connections. It typically lacks the performance optimizations and integration features found in RDP. Additionally, many VNC implementations do not include encryption by default, which means that sensitive sessions must be protected using additional measures such as secure shell tunnels or virtual private networks. Despite these limitations, VNC remains popular in mixed brain buff environments due to its open protocol and wide compatibility. Each of these protocols, Telnet, SSH, RDP, and VNC, has a specific role to play in remote administration. Telnet, though largely obsolete, is still used in some legacy systems or for very simple internal tasks. SSH is the gold standard for secure command line access and file management on Unix-like systems and network hardware. RDP is the protocol of choice for Windows graphical access and supports a full-featured remote desktop environment. VNC offers a lightweight, cross-Pensmore option for those who need basic graphical interaction without the overhead of RDP. For more cyber content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other podcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. Securing remote access involves more than selecting the right protocol. Even when using encrypted tools like Secure Shell and Remote Desktop Protocol, network administrators must apply careful access controls and maintain up-to-date configurations. The most important rule is to never leave remote access interfaces exposed to the public internet without protection. Instead, access should be limited to trusted networks, specific IP addresses, or routed through secure tunnels like virtual private networks. By reducing exposure, organizations reduce the chances of credential theft, brute force attacks, and remote code execution exploits targeting these services. One of the most common methods for enabling secure remote access across network address translation boundaries is port forwarding. In this model, a firewall or router maps an external port number to an internal device running a remote access service. For example, Transmission Control Protocol port 22 can be forwarded from a public IP to an internal Linux server for secure shell access. Similarly, port 3389 can be forwarded to allow remote desktop protocol sessions to reach a specific Windows host. While port forwarding is useful in homes and small businesses, it must be implemented with caution and monitored regularly to ensure that only intended services are reachable. Security can be significantly improved by adding multi-factor authentication to remote access protocols. With this feature, users must provide a second form of identity verification in addition to their standard username and password. This could be a time-based, one-time password from a smartphone app, a hardware token, or a biometric factor. Many enterprise-grade case secure shell and remote desktop protocol solutions support multi-factor authentication, and it is considered a best practice for securing administrator access to critical systems. This additional layer reduces the effectiveness of stolen credentials and deters automated login attempts. Logging and auditing play an important role in securing remote access and meeting compliance requirements. Session logging tracks all connections, authentications, and command executions performed during a remote access session. Logs can be stored locally, forwarded to a centralized log management system, or integrated into security information and event management platforms. This information is vital for incident detection, response investigations, and forensic analysis. In regulated industries, session logging is often a mandatory part of system design, ensuring that all access to sensitive systems is recorded and reviewable. Remote access tools are vital for network troubleshooting, allowing administrators to diagnose and fix problems from off-site locations. Using Secure Shell, a technician can log into a router or switch, examine log files, verify configurations, and restart services. With Remote Desktop Protocol, administrators can access Windows servers, update settings, and review graphical interface warnings and alerts. These capabilities save time and reduce the need for physical presence, which is especially important for supporting branch offices, cloud environments, or geographically dispersed infrastructure. To maintain a secure environment, any unused or unnecessary remote access services should be disabled. If a system does not require Remote Desktop Protocol, the service should be turned off and the port closed at the firewall. Similarly, if Secure Shell is not in use, it should be disabled or restricted to specific user groups and networks. Legacy services like Telnet, which offer no encryption, should be completely removed or blocked. These steps reduce the attack surface of the network and eliminate potential entry points for unauthorized users or malware. In cloud environments, remote access is still essential but managed differently from traditional on-premise networks. For example, Secure Shell is the standard method for accessing Linux virtual machines in the cloud. Remote Desktop Protocol is used for managing Windows-based virtual machines. Cloud providers typically manage access through security groups or firewall rules, which define which IP addresses are allowed to initiate remote sessions. In many cases, access to these protocols is also time-limited or gated through centralized identity providers that enforce additional authentication checks and logging policies. The Network Plus exam frequently includes questions about remote access protocols. These may ask you to identify the correct port number, select the most secure method for a given scenario, or analyze a situation where remote access has failed. You might be given a troubleshooting case in which Remote Desktop Protocol is not responding and be expected to identify whether the issue is due to firewall settings, user permissions, or protocol compatibility. You may also be asked to match features such as encryption, graphical interface, or port usage with the correct remote access method. For review purposes, it is helpful to organize remote access protocols by feature. Secure Shell is used for encrypted command line sessions, file transfers, and tunneling. It uses Transmission Control Protocol port 22 and is favored for Linux and Unix systems. Remote Desktop Protocol is used for full graphical sessions on Windows systems, with advanced features like audio redirection and printer access. It runs on Transmission Control Protocol port 3389 and must be configured securely to prevent unauthorized access. Telnet is outdated and insecure, using Transmission Control Protocol port 23, and should be avoided unless operating in a tightly controlled environment. Virtual network computing offers cross-BMO graphical access on Transmission Control Protocol port 5900 and higher, but typically requires external encryption or tunneling for safe use. You should also be aware of hybrid or enhanced solutions. For example, some organizations use Secure Shell to tunnel virtual network computing sessions, combining the cross-mechanism access of VNC with the encryption of Secure Shell. Others deploy secure gateways that provide browser-based access to remote desktop protocol or secure shell sessions, adding centralized control, audit logging, and multi-factor enforcement. These combinations reflect real-world use cases and may appear on advanced exam questions that test your understanding of layered security models. In summary, remote access protocols are essential tools for managing systems and solving problems from a distance. Secure Shell provides encrypted command line access with support for tunneling and file transfer. Remote Desktop Protocol allows full graphical control of Windows systems with built-in support for peripherals and advanced features. Telnet is a legacy tool that should only be used with caution. Virtual network computing offers graphical access across platforms, but must be paired with encryption for safe use. By learning the ports, features, and security considerations of each protocol, you will be well prepared for the Network Plus exam and for effective network administration in real-world environments. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Network Plus Prepcast, your trusted audio guide to the CompTIA Network Plus certification. This episode was produced by baremetalcyber.com. For more cybersecurity podcasts, books, and resources, visit baremetalcyber.com. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Bare Metal Cybersecurity Plus podcast. For more episodes, tools, and study support, visit us at baremetalcyber.com. And before you take the test, make sure to check out the practice questions in the book Achieve CompTIA Security Plus SY0-701 Exam Success by Dr. Jason Edwards. They cover every domain and are a powerful way to lock in your knowledge.